Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie. Hi guys, it's Angel. I just want to thank y'all for coming again and watching another episode of the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks. Today we have Michael Plaks, and he is a super awesome guy. He is actually a first-generation Russian immigrant. So to me, that's just huge because I have a lot of friends that have come to the U.S. and they love the U.S. because of all the opportunities that are here. And I don't know if you've ever seen the test they have to take, but holy night. That is a huge deal. So awesomeness from that. He's also going to be sharing with us today a little bit about how real estate and taxes work together, because a lot of us think we understand it and we're like, oh, I get this, I know what's going on, when in fact, we really don't know anything. Or we know like a little grain of sand on an entire beach of knowledge. Michael, if you could kind of tell us just a little bit about yourself, maybe something about your gi and your gloves there. We can go ahead and get started.
Okay, gloves are not visible right now. They are visible, right? You can see them now. Yeah, so I wear red gloves, and when people see me in public and they know who I am, they usually saying is, where are your gloves? As if I'm supposed to wear them all the time. And I'll show my logo in a second, but basically I'm Michael Plaks. I'm black belt, like here's my black belt in real estate taxation. And on my logo, which I'm going to show right now, like sharing my presentation. So my logo has me beating up Uncle Sam, which is conveniently standing right behind me. And yes, like you mentioned, Angela, I'm Russian. In Russia, we are pretty much against taxation, against government, against everything else. I come here with the same attitude. So we beat up Uncle Sam, so you guys don't have to do it. My specialty is taxation. I've been in this business since 1996, working exclusively with real estate investors. So my company is called, as you can see on screen, it's REI Tax Corp, REI Real Estate Investment Tax Firm. We only work with investors like you and everybody who is watching us right now, and saving you guys from excessive taxation and problems with the IRS. What we're going to do right now, like our plan is, like you and I talked a little bit what to do, and we decided to take an interesting approach today, which I don't usually do when I do presentations. What we will do is this: we picked up 10 different random sort of topics related to taxation and real estate, and we're going to go through them. And we have like different goals here. Goal number one is this: if somebody like listening to us right now and you are brand new to real estate investments, then you will learn various things that the tax code allows specifically for real estate. So never heard of that, you will see how different it is, how good and attractive it could be for a real estate investor, and also some pitfalls on the way there. That's if you are brand new. Now, if you are not new, if you've been in real estate for a while, you learn that you know about those benefits. That's a good chance to test yourself, because we will have 10 yes/no questions, basically true or false. And you can test yourself before I give you correct answer. And then that should be interesting for most of you guys who are already knowledgeable in real estate taxation. Third goal is this: if you are choosing a professional to work with you, some tax guy, tax lady to help you with taxes, you want to know whether your person knows their stuff. And I will give you those 10 questions that you can use basically as a test. Give it to your accountant, see what they say. If they give most of the answers correct, if they answer most of the questions correctly, then you are in good hands. If they fail this test, then maybe you need to upgrade and pick up somebody who is more knowledgeable in real estate. So, Angel, what do you say?
Absolutely. I'm super excited.
Okay, cool. Then, I guess we'll start, right? Here is our first one. So all questions today that we're talking about are yes/no questions. And here is a scenario. So we're making 200K in salaries between myself and my spouse. And question is, can we reduce our taxes with tax write-offs from rental properties? Because that's a very common question. And when you go to webinars, when you see people talking at real estate investor meetings, everybody says is, yes, real estate is great, it reduces my taxes. And then we have people who are in that relatively high income situation, and they expect their taxes to go down, and then they get very disappointed when they do not get it. The answer to that question is no. You cannot reduce our taxes, and every question, so I'm giving you a question, I'm giving you answer, and I'm giving you now explanation. So here is what is happening. So if you have W-2 income, and that's 200K in this case, and you buy rental properties, this is what happens. You get income from rental properties, and that's income. Then you get expenses, and there are deductions against that income. So let's say you have 1,000 a year, 1,000 a month rent on your property. So over the course of the year, you get 12,000 in rental income, but then you get expenses. You pay mortgage, you pay taxes, insurance, repairs, all the utilities, all of that, all of those costs. And when you subtract them, you might have against 12,000 income, let's say 10,000 worth of expenses. And then there is something that is known as depreciation. We'll talk more about that today. And that can add to your 10,000 of normal expenses. So now you have 5,000 of depreciation, total expenses are 15. 12 of income, 15 of expenses. Do your math, you have a 3,000 loss. That is great. And that's actually is a great benefit of real estate. You have real cash flow because you have 12,000 of income, 10,000 of expenses, you are 2,000 positive. You have 2,000 to keep. But because of depreciation, it looks as if you are losing money. So you have that 3,000 loss, and now you want to apply that loss against your 200,000 W-2 income to pay taxes only on 197. The answer is no, you cannot do that. The rules are against you. It says if your income is high enough, and 200 is high enough in this case, your losses will not be applicable this year. Now, they're not wasted. You do not lose them completely, but you cannot take them now. What happens is you put these losses in a box, and you push that box into the next year. Then year after that, if you're in the same situation, you keep pushing it. So you accumulate those losses, your pile of losses gets higher, but you cannot take them until you sell the property. So eventually you will get it, but not today. Today your tax bill will be exactly the same as it was last year. So that was our first question. Let's go to the next.
That's kind of sad.
Yes, it's sad. But like I said, you do not, there are other benefits. You do not lose those additional losses. You just cannot apply them this year. Now, my example specifically tests somebody who is 200K into W-2 area. Now, if your W-2 income, let's say you are single, your W-2 income is 70,000, would it work then? Yes. Just 200 happens to be too high. If your income was 70, you could apply my 3,000 from my example loss, and you would pay taxes on 67 total income instead of 70. That would work. But 200 happens to be just too high. Okay, that threshold where all losses are locked is at 150 really. And that's 150 for the couple. If you are married, it's combined 150. Married couple does not get twice the level. Everybody gets 150. So above 150 and 200 is above, that's where you get into those issues.
Okay.
Okay, so don't make too much money, right? In W-2. Make a lot of money in real estate, but not in W-2. Let's go to the second one. Second one is, and like I warned before, guys, we're going to jump topics. It's not a class where we go one by one from logically progressing from one topic to another. We take 10 different questions. Some are more advanced, some are more basic, just to have a little bit of fun and also some variety, so it's less boring than talking about something real complicated for a long time. So here we go. Yes or no question. If we hold a rental property for 5 years, it doubles in value. Is there any way to not pay capital gains taxes when we sell? So answer to that question I will hold in a second. Before clarifying again the situation, let's be very clear of what we're talking about. So we buy a rental property, pay 100 grand for it, 5 years later, it's worth 200. We decide to sell it. We pocket 100,000, like between 100 we originally paid for and 200 we are selling it for. It's $100,000 increase. And we owe taxes on that. Most people have heard after a year of holding, it's long-term capital gain tax. It's capped at 15%. Well, not really. It can go higher if you are in a higher income zone, but let's use that 15% for simplicity today. So 15% on that 100,000 growth is 15,000 of taxes. I mean, yes, it's 15,000. You made 100,000 on the appreciation of property. 15,000 compared to that is not a killer. You still made a pretty good chunk of money, but if we can avoid that 15,000, why not? The answer to that question is yes. You have ways to do that. There are different strategies. The most common, the best known one is called the 1031 exchange. In order to do that strategy correctly, you don't do what a lot of people do, unfortunately. We have plenty of those calls, a few a month, from like either calls or emails, or I'm very active on social media, answer questions on Facebook. We have our group on Facebook called REI Tax and Legal Wizards, where we discuss those issues. I'm very active on Bigger Pockets. So we talk about those questions. And what happens is people saying is, okay, I just sold the property, 200K, made some gains. How do I do an exchange now? The answer is, now you don't. Now all you can do is cry. It's too late. What you needed to do is you needed to start the process of an exchange before you sell. You have to hire a company which is called exchange intermediary. There are companies who specialize in that, and they will arrange things for you. But the key is you had to say, start that process before you sell. Then instead of selling, that company holds your 200 sales money in escrow, and then you buy something else. The strategy is way more complicated that I'm describing, but that's a start. But the answer to that question is yes. You made a lot of money on the property going up in value. You can possibly get out of paying capital gain taxes now. It's not forever, but right, you can delay that. Those taxes do not disappear. They are pushed into the future. But then guess what? You can do another exchange later on, and then you can do another exchange. And then the best possible tax planning move is then you die. And then your children get that property tax free and all of that capital gain disappears. So the ultimate tax planning is keep exchanging and die with those properties.
So back up a second. So you can 1031 and 1031 and 1031 and 1031 and then die, and those taxes don't ever have to be paid.
Yes, if your children inherited that property from you, all previous capital gain taxes related to that property are gone. So you can actually, yes, you can give it to your children tax-free. Like, remember we talked about, no, not we, like, it's known that there are just two things you cannot avoid, right? You cannot avoid two things. You cannot avoid taxes and death, right? Well, here is an interesting situation. No, death you cannot avoid, but taxes you can. By the way, I should add the third thing you cannot avoid nowadays. You cannot avoid arguing on Facebook. That's unavoidable too. Third thing. Okay. Ready for next one?
Absolutely.
Okay, number 3. So again, yes or no? So if we buy fixer-uppers to rebuild and sell, construction takes more than 1 year, will our profit be taxed as long-term capital gain? So on the previous question, when we had a property for 5 years, the rental property doubled in value in our example, we talked how the difference will be taxed at long-term capital gain, which is a good rate. It's 15% right now, pretty good. About like as low as you can hope your taxes to be. They can get lower in some situations, but again, 15% is a good rate. And here, what a lot of investors, especially new investors, expect to happen is this. You buy a house, discounted house for 100 grand, put another, 30 grand into repairs, sell it for 180 or something, and you have that 50,000 profit. Of course, I'm oversimplifying. I'm ignoring your closing costs. I'm ignoring your funding costs and all of that. But whatever, on that flip, you made 50 grand. If from the time you bought it to the time you sold it, it took more than a year, is it long-term capital gain tax rate? Bad news for that. The answer to that question is no, it's not. In fact, you don't have capital gains at all. Not short-term, not long-term. It's not capital gain. If what you are doing is flipping, meaning is you buy a house, fix it, repair it, make it desirable and attractive property and sell it and have money, congratulations to you. It's good. It's what all of those HGTV shows are about, all of those flipping shows. Yes, reality is not as beautiful as the shows. It's actually pretty difficult to make money that way. And since we are talking about some bad news, I will add more bad news. First time flippers tend to lose money. 95% of them actually lose money on the first time flips. It's much more difficult than people expect. But if you are doing it right and doing it well, and you are making that money, it's not capital gains. It's ordinary business income with very brutal taxation. So how bad? Here is what you pay on that. You pay your ordinary income tax rate, whatever yours is. Pretty common to have 24, 22% rate. So let's say 24 for the sake of example. But that's not enough. On top of that, you are paying your state rate if you are in one of the states that have state income tax. Like I am in Texas. In Texas, we do not have state income tax. If you are in California, Massachusetts, you know, in those high taxation area, you add a few percentage points for state taxation. And that's not it. It's like, wait, there is more, but more bad news, because you also have Social Security and Medicare taxes on top of that, also known as self-employment taxes. And all of that combined can go as high as 45%, like almost half. And you think about it like, are you freaking kidding me? Like half of my money goes to the government? Unfortunately, yes. So there are some strategies that we can apply to mitigate that, but the taxation on flipping business is pretty bad. You do not get that 15% long-term capital gain tax, even if you hold it for more than a year. By the way, if you flip takes more than a year, you are doing something wrong. It should not take that long. If your flipping project takes more than a year, maybe the problem is your business model, not taxation.
I didn't realize that Flipper's income was self-employed. Like it was subject to self-employment tax, because that's like the highest tax there is.
It is, yes. It's about the highest taxation business that you can get. It's actually the same taxation as any business where you work, such as being a realtor taxed the same way, being a wholesaler is taxed the same way, being an accountant actually is taxed the same way. So guys, like they like to say these days is, we are in it together, sort of. Yes, like my income is taxed the same way. But if you are a landlord and doing rental properties, then your taxation is way better. Okay, so purely on a tax point, being a flipper is not a great idea from taxation point of view. Now, that's not to say, I'm not saying not do that. We have clients who are killing it by doing flipping. You can make a lot of money doing that, that's true. But you have to anticipate very high taxes and have good tax strategies trying to minimize that. You cannot remove that. It's still high, but you can do a few things to make it a little better. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, let's go next one. So here is our next one here again. As always, yes and no. Can we lend our IRA money to other real estate investors? So let's assume you looked at all of that and saying is, well, I'm really busy. I have my job. I have my family. Not particularly interested in driving around, looking for properties, doing flips, dealing with contractors. But I still want to make money in real estate. And one of those is giving money as loans to other real estate investors. And that can be attractive, called private lending. You can lend your cash. The question is, can we lend our IRA money? And if you go, for example, you have your 401k at work, ask somebody at work at your payroll department saying, can I do it with my 401k? They will say absolutely no. But the answer to that question is yes. I didn't say 401k in that question. I asked about IRA money. The answer still would be yes if it's your own 401k. If you have your own business, your own company, you set up 401k for your business, then you might have it. And the concept there, the key word is self-directed. So there are variations of IRAs, or actually all retirement accounts, not just IRAs, all types of retirement accounts that can be self-directed. And people are sometimes confused saying this, so, well, I already have an IRA, so what is self-directed IRA? Is it a different type? No, it's not a different type. It's the same IRA. You have two types of IRA, regular IRA and Roth IRAs. They work differently. Self-directed is not a third option. Self-directed is where you hold that money. That's really where what the difference is. You can go to your bank or your investment organizations like Schwab, Fidelity, something like that. That's where your employers held their money. And what those investments are is in traditional vehicles like mutual funds. That's what most of those investments are. What the difference with self-directed is, you put it in a place that allows you to decide what to invest in. And we have to ask permission of that guy behind me, Uncle Sam, asking this, what can I invest my IRA money? And he will tell you, you know what, pretty much anything. There are very few things that you are not allowed to do. For example, you are not allowed to invest in collectibles. But we're not talking about collectibles. We're talking about real estate. So the question is, hey, Sam, can I do real estate? Yeah. Can I do businesses? Yes. We can buy businesses. We can buy real estate. All of that can be done with IRA money. Then the question is, then why is my employer not doing that? Why all I have is mutual funds? Because of the risk. They don't want to take the risk of that. It's safe to do it with mutual funds. It's not safe to do it with real estate or businesses. But you can do it. You just have to put your money with somebody who allows self-directed IRAs. Banks allow that. Yes, you can go to Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and actually they will allow you to create self-directed IRAs. But the problem is they have no clue how to handle them. Highly not recommended to do that. So there are companies who specialize in that. Easy to find them, Google them. They are vendors at real estate clubs. These people are active on Bigger Pockets and other investor online communities. So not that difficult to find. Look for self-directed IRA people if you want to invest your money in real estate, including, so what you can do is you can buy properties with your IRA money, or like that question on screen says right now, you can lend that money to other real estate investors. So we had 2 yeses, 2 nos. Let's go to the next one. Our next one is, I think it's number 5. And the question is here, okay, we both have full-time jobs. Can we qualify as real estate professionals if one of us obtains a realtor license? Before I answer that question, let's go back and see, why are we even talking about that? We're talking about that because of that very first question. So if you are joining right now, if you have not seen the beginning, you missed that first question. If you are with us from the beginning of the presentation, you remember we discussed that. So let's see, I'm married. Between me and my wife, we make 200K in W-2 income, and we want to save on taxes by using losses from real estate. And as we discussed when we talked about that first question, unfortunately, we cannot do that, making too much money. Here comes real estate professional status. That's the current question. If you happen to be a real estate professional, then the 200K limitation is off, which means is what? I can take all of that 3,000 loss? Yes. You can take 3,000, 30,000, 100,000. Whatever loss you have from rental properties, you can take. So if you have 200 W-2 income and you have 100,000 of losses from real estate, can you take that loss against the 200? Yes, you can. Your income can go down from 200 to 100, and you save a huge amount of money on taxes if that is your situation. But you have to be real estate professional.